What's up, YouTube? I finally got a sunny day. I'm gonna install this this timing chain kit from Detroit Tuned. It's probably gonna, you can do a timing chain in easily in a day. It's probably gonna take me a couple because I'm gonna videotape it. But let's get started. Okay, I already went ahead and I had my car up on jack stands. Took the front passenger side tire off. We'll decide with the harmonic balancer and all this and all the pulleys. Decide you want to take off depending on what country you're in. U.S. it's passenger side. Aside from that, I'm going to make sure to videotape every single thing I do. So first thing you're going to need is a timing chain kit. You don't have to use this one, but you just can't do the job without this tool. And you'll see why when I do it. But I'll put a link in the description where you can get this one. I've used this exact one on this car before, the last time I did the timing chain. And the reason I'm doing it again is because I used a cheap timing chain off of it was just a cheap one off of Amazon. It's like $100 for the kit, and I was just doing it to get my car back together. Well, nothing's wrong with it. I just don't feel safe driving with it, so I bought the new one from Detroit Tuned. And plus the old one, the new one that I put in wasn't very great. I didn't use all the parts. The guides weren't even straight, so I didn't even use them. In fact, I'll show you the top one right now. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but this should be straight, and it's not. So when you line it up with the chain, it curves, and I didn't trust it, so I just put the old one back on, which probably has 100,000 miles on it. So that's why I'm changing everything now. The one for Detroit Tuned, it's it's a good one. It's the best one I could find. It was only $239, so I'm happy with that. I wish I would have done it that way the first time. Okay, so the first step, I'm going to take off all the coils, and then the valve cover. So the first step, I'm just going to take the coils off. So I'll go ahead and do that right now. You just pop. Let me get a closer look. Okay, you just take this, pull it up, and it'll pull this part out as you pull it up. And then you just take them out. So that's how easy that is. And then these, I'm just gonna pull them out. Let me get a better shot. All right, so the coil packs, you're just gonna twist them back and forth until they come out, and pull slightly up as you're doing so, and it'll come out. Sometimes this little piece right here will stay on top of the spark plug. If that happens, you just get a long set of needle nose pliers. Make sure you grab onto it firmly and gently pull it out. If it happens to me, I'll show you how to do it, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Also, you want to put these in an order so you know where to put them back together, so you can put them back together in the same order that you took them apart, or put them in the same spot. Alright, so mine all came out no problem. They usually do. I've only had my old set. They came out in with the plastic parts, or the rubber stayed on the spark plug. All right, so the next step, I'm gonna disconnect these hoses, and then I'm gonna, I can disconnect this right now. Disconnect that. I'm gonna take these two things off, the clamps for this wire. I'm gonna disconnect these two hoses, and then pull the valve cover off. This way I can just do it with my hands. What you do on this one, see if I can get a good shot of that. There's these little things right here that you press in on, and when you press on them, it releases it, and then you pull it out. Mine's wanting to be a pain right now for some reason, but I'll show you guys. Okay, so you squeeze these two, and then pull it out like that. And then this, I need to get a screwdriver, but push in on the bottom. I'll get a better shot. Okay, for the other hose, there's this right here down at the bottom where my screwdriver is. It's this little lever, this little tab right here. You push on the bottom of it. See if I can do it. I don't think I can do it with one hand, but you push on the bottom of it, and it releases it, and then you have to lift up at the same time. So I gotta use two hands to do it, but that's how you do it. All right, so press in. Hold that. And then that comes out. Somewhere. And then this part, just the hose just pulls out. And now I'm gonna pull this cover off. It comes off pretty easy. Of course, mine's not going to because I got it on camera. There we go. Just pull that off. It's got these little tabs right here that go in the front, and then it just clips onto these tabs right here. So if you get it to come out, it'll come out really easy. All right, so then these just pull right out. These little rubber pieces right here, they slide into these tabs and they just slide right out. Then there's an 8mm bolt that's right here on top of this 10mm. You take that 8mm out to get this ground wire. So let me grab an 8mm. All right, so you just grab an 8mm, put it on there. Oh, no, I got it too tight. My 10 is coming loose, so I gotta hold it with the 10. Well, that's not good. I probably had a valve cover leak, so now I know. Okay, I'm gonna set that 8 right up here where I know where it is because it's going to be separate. Then that just comes off. And I set that aside. So I'll probably take it down here. My engine's cold, so nothing's going to get burnt. Okay, pull these clips out. Mine have been off a bunch of times, so they come off probably pretty easy compared to other people's. But I just pry it up like that. This one might be a little bit harder. And you can also pry them, out that way too, whichever way they come out. I think the first time I took them out, that's what I did. Pried them out. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do with this one. Yeah, if you slide them out away from the engine, they actually come out pretty easy. Let's get that out of the way. One thing I should mention about this hose, yours probably doesn't go to a catch can. It's the same hose though, that just runs to the intake. So it comes out the same way, there's no difference. And at this point, I'm just gonna go ahead and drain my oil because you have to drain the oil to do the timing chain. And I don't wanna forget to do it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it right now. All right, so underneath my car, forgive me for being this dirty, I live on a dirt road, like I said, and I just fixed a major oil leak and I haven't cleaned it up. But this bolt on your oil pan, it's a T50. You're gonna want to crack it loose and then just go ahead and loosen it like that and let it drain. And come up top, make sure you crack your oil cap so that the oil can drain good, and then let it drain. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and change the oil filter right now before I forget while the oil's draining. Well, the oil's done draining right now. So first step to do that, you just remove this. There's a bolt right here. Mine doesn't have it, broke off, but your car probably will. So mine just pops out. You remove that bolt and you just pop it out, set it out of the way. I can do this with one hand here. It's probably good enough. Then you're going to take a 27mm ratchet or socket. You're going to put it on the oil filter housing. I'm going to go ahead and turn this camera off while I do this so I can use both hands. One hand now, but and pull the housing off. And your oil filter should come with it. Alright, so this is just going to pop out like that. No problem. Then you're just going to snap the new one back in. Okay, the kit I use comes with this. It's just the Wix 57512 is the part number. Box looks like that. 57512 comes with the crush washer and the O-ring seal that goes right here. And it's probably not a life or death if you change this every time, but you have it, might as well do it. Alright, I'm going to figure out how to get this off real easy and I'll be right back. Okay, so with the flathead screwdriver, I'm just going to slide it in there. Not going to mess the threads up at all. And then pop that off. And I'm going to take the new one that I just took out of the kit. I'm just going to make sure you put it in the same line that you took it out of. Just going to place it over it. It slides right on. Make sure it's not all twisted up. You could probably take some of the oil that's even already still in the cap and just go ahead and make sure it's got oil on it so it seals. Never had it leak, but it's as simple as that. So now you're going to take your new air filter, or oil filter. You're just going to, there's a little thing inside there. There's a hole. It doesn't matter which way it goes. Put it on either direction. Just pop it on. Then you just put it right back where you got it. Alright, so I'm just going to come back over to the engine bay where the oil filter housing is. I think you can see it right there. I'm just going to slide it back in. This won't fall out, so you don't have to worry about it falling out. You just slide it in there. I'm just going to get it snug by hand. That's snug by hand, and then I'll tighten it down with the ratchet. It is 18 foot-pounds, or 25 Newton, whatever that is, NM. But 18 foot-pounds is how tight you tighten it. I'm just going to use a ratchet because my torque wrench doesn't do 18 pounds. Alright, so I'm going to take this 27 millimeter that I took it out with and just put it back on there and tighten it. Then just get it a little bit snug and, you know, about 18 pounds like the book says. If you have a torque wrench that does 18 pounds, it's probably better to do it that way. I actually have you know, a Harbor Freight torque wrench that does go that low, but it just feels way too tight. I don't trust it. I don't think it's a Pittsburgh brand. I just don't trust it, so I just use a ratchet. The old crush washer into my drain pan if it'll come out. There it goes. Put the new crush washer on. The old one actually looked fine, but why not replace it? Like I said, got a brand new one. Oops. Put it in there. I use a ratchet for this too. I don't use the power tools because I want to be able to feel how tight I'm getting it. I don't want to strip it. I've never had this leak either, so of course it doesn't want to come off when we're doing it with one hand. There we go. Alright, at this point, you can go ahead and put your coolant reservoir back. Like I said, mine doesn't have a bolt, so I just put it back. Stays, but yours is going to take a bolt right there. Alright, so the next step is to remove the valve cover. There's a total of 14 bolts to remove the valve cover. That's 13 for the actual valve cover and 1 for the cam gear. And they're all 10 millimeter. This is the cam gear one. But that just pops out. Just set that aside. In fact, I'll show you guys a better view of where it is. Alright, this is the actual cam gear, and this bolt I just took out was right here. It's a 10mm, you take that out, and then this just pops out. And then you just stick it out of the way somewhere. Alright, so now I'm going to take out the other 13 bolts. You want to start from the outside and work your way in, just so you don't warp your valve cover. I'm going to break them all loose first before I use the electricity. Should probably do this with a regular ratchet, but I had this out, so. Right, then there's two in the middle right here. Alright, so then you just take your should just pop out. We'll find out. First, I like to take these two long ones that go right here. I usually take those out because they get hung up for some reason. The rest of them I like to leave in the valve cover, but gotta make sure you've got them all the way out, which it doesn't appear that I do. So you just pull that. Mine comes right out because I have just had it off recently, but you might have to pry on yours. And the reason I like to leave all the bolts so I can put them all back in the same spot. A couple of my bolts are helicoiled, so I make sure I use the same bolts in those same helicoils. Probably don't have to, but I do it anyway. So that's the inside of the head, inside the valve cover. This is the part that I was talking about. I left that on. That's got like 100,000 miles on it, and I want to change it. Also, I don't trust the chain tensioner that came with this kit. The Detroit tuned one has a good one, has the updated version. The chain itself seems fine, and the Vanos, it actually came with the Vanos, which was really cheap, so but it seems fine. I'll probably replace that at some point. In fact, I will 100% replace that at some point. But this gear is fine. It seems just like the OEM one that was on it. Okay, so I just went ahead and set my valve cover back on top just so I don't get anything in there while I take everything else apart. Kind of jump the gun. You don't have to take that off yet, but it doesn't hurt. So the next step, I'm going to take this whole air hose off right here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to loosen this screw right here. This is a 7mm, and then there's another 7mm right here. I'm going to take this whole plastic piece out. And in fact, scratch that. I'm not going to take that out. I'm going to take it out right here. I'm going to pull this little pin out. I'll show you what it is. And this little clip. And then I'm going to take the Torx screw out that's down there so I can pull this whole plastic out. And the reason I'm going to do that, so I can get to these bolts, and so I have room to take the tension off the belt. So this, let's get to it. Right here where my hand is, see that little clip right there? That's what needs to come out. I don't think I can do it with one hand, but I will try. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to do it with one. Oh, maybe I am. Seems to come right out. No, I'm gonna need to do two hands to do it, but you just pull that clip out, and then this whole hose just slides right out the top. So that's the clip. It just slides around the piece you have right here. It's the piece that goes to your noisemaker box, that if you still have it. I have the Way Motorworks noisemaker delete thing right here. So, but this is OEM. This is the same piece you have. This, and it'll just pull right off. But I gotta take this bolt out right here, because that bolts to this, and then I gotta take out the Torx screw. Be right back. You take that out, set that aside, and that'll move. Okay, so to get to the Torx screw, you're gonna want to remove your air compressor, not air compressor, your air conditioner line that's right here. So what you do is there's this little plastic clip right here. You just put a screwdriver in it. See what I can do with one hand. I don't know if I can. Pop that off. And then you can just move that out of the way. I'm not going to be able to get the camera in there to show you how to get that Torx screw out, but as soon as I get the thing out, I'll show you what size Torx screw to use. Okay, the Torx bit that goes in there is a T25. Okay, what I did is I reached up from the bottom, and I was able to get from the top. There's really no room, unless you do it. A lot of people do. A lot of people like to put their car in service mode when they do this. I don't. I've never actually put my car in service mode, and I've had the head off, so you don't actually need to. But it probably does make it. I mean, I'm sure it makes it a lot easier. But then you got to put the front end back on. So anyway, this little tiny flex head ratchet to get it loose, and then I just use this part to loosen it. And again, it's a T25. So back into the car. Now you want to take, this is off of the intercooler. This is the passenger side of the car. Same side you're working on. You want to take that hose off, and then from there you should be able to loosen it. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Hold on one second. I need to get an adapter. Alright, extension is what I need, not an adapter. But oops, I can get that on there with one hand. Let's go ahead and loosen that. Then pop that hose out. I don't know if I can do that with one hand, but let me get a screwdriver. Alright, so you just want to get a screwdriver here and just kind of work the thing. Once you get it loose, it might come right off. Might not, but if I can't get it to pop out like this, I'll spray a little bit of WD-40 in there. It'll come right out. But it seems to be going. I would have this off already, but I'm using one hand, so it's a little bit harder. Pull this out of my way, see if I can. That didn't do anything. But alright, I'm going to put this camera down so I can use both hands. Alright, so I got that off, so now I got to go ahead and pull this piece out. And then I'm going to pull this whole piece out. It's going to be a little tight. I'm actually going to give myself some more room. I'm going to take this screw out right here. Again, it's a 7mm. I'll take that off, and then that'll give me more room. Okay, then on here, there's where you had this screwed on right here, there's a piece that it has to come around, so it's kind of hard to get out. I'm actually going to take these 2 bolts out just so I can pull this up enough to get this out. Yeah, these 2 bolts are 13mm, so I'm going to go ahead and crack them both loose. And that should give me enough room. Actually, I think at this point, what I am going to do, which will give me a lot of room, is pull this valve cover out of the way. Back in. Pull the dipstick out and give me some room. Plus you need to take the dipstick out anyway. I'm just gonna set it up right here. I set it up here for right now, but I'm gonna wrap it in something and put it away. Yeah, that made that come out a lot easier. And there you go, that comes out. This is where that screw, that T25 is, goes inside there. So it's against the radiator. It's pretty easy to find. I'm going to put my valve cover back on just so that I don't get anything in my engine while I'm doing this. I went ahead and wiped my dipstick back off, put it back in. This has to come out before you take the timing chain off, but I just don't want anything to get in there. I don't have anything to plug it with, so I'm just going to leave that in there for now. Alright, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put a jack with the block on it underneath the oil pan to support the motor so I can pull the motor mount off. I'll show you guys how to do that. So you can see, I just put a jack underneath the oil pan with the 4x4 block on it. It's just holding it enough to support the engine for now. Later, I'll remove that torque mount, or that mount back there. I don't know what it's called, but I'll remove that so that I think that's it. But I'll remove the mount so I can raise and lower the engine. Oh, that's not even it. It's behind this block right here. But and then I'll remove the motor mounts. But I'll show you as I do it. All right. So now, next step is these bolts. That one right there. It's a 13. That one's a 13. There's 2 on this side, and there's 1 in the middle I gotta get to, and then also that bolt right there. I'm not sure what size that one is yet, but I'm gonna go ahead and take these 13s out right now. Alright, just gonna break these loose. I have my motor supported already. I'm gonna have to use a different setup than this. So on this side, I'm just gonna use a regular socket. Alright, gaskets just to get them loose. Look like that. That's not gonna work. Feels like it should be out, but it's not coming for some reason. I wonder if it's longer. Nope, same length. This last one, I'm not sure. Gonna use a regular ratchet for the last one, just so I can reach in there. I'm gonna put a little bit more pressure on the motor mount, just so I know it's supported for sure. I saw the engine move, so I know it's supported. So let's go ahead and put this, all I have on here is one socket. I'm just gonna use the power drill. If I can get it to go on there. There we go. I just gotta grab my magnet so I can pull it out. Just using a little pen magnet. You can get these at Harbor Freight. Pull that out. And we have this bolt right here for the ground strap. It's also a 13mm. Let's go ahead and loosen it. I'm just gonna use a regular ratchet. It's just a bolt, or a nut. It's not an actual bolt. Well, I guess it is a bolt off the other side. So take that out. Grab my magnet. Alright, I'm just gonna uncover the camera here. I'm just put this back in where I got it, just so I don't lose it. Strap, that was a lot easier. So the next one is this bolt right here, and then this whole top piece will come off. This is a 19. Let me see if I can break it loose with one hand. Nope. It is an 18, and I cannot find my 18mm socket, so I'm going to use the old-fashioned box end wrench. But that's going to take me both hands. I'll be right back. Get the wrench in there easier. Now I got it loose so I can take it off by hand. Alright, so now this should get it out. When it's out, I'm just gonna go ahead and set it right here for now. The bolt down there, and that bolt right there to take out this motor mount, just because it's in the way. It's not holding anything, but it's just in the way. I'm going to put my valve cover on though while I do that, just so nothing gets in my motor. Possible. I'm going to need a longer extension, but those two bottom ones, this one right here is a 16. The two on the bottom on each side are both 13s. So I got a couple extensions here, so I could put it on that bolt. Let's see if I can break this loose with one hand. Yeah. I'm gonna need both hands for this, so I'll be right back while I break those loose. Just with the regular ratchet, you might want to use a breaker bar. It's kind of tough. Oops. I'll use my magnet to pull these bolts out. This one. There's two. So I'm going to go ahead and use a ratchet to break this one loose. See if I might be able to do it with one hand, but I might need both. I'm just going to pull that out by hand now. That goes right there. And you just take your whole motor mount out. Oops, where is it? I'll set that with the rest of it. And then I'm going to put this bolt back where I got it from so I don't mix it up. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this bolt back in there. Actually, you know what? That's going to be in the way. I'm just going to set it with all the other bolts and remember, because it's different size, so I'll remember it. Alright, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take this valve cover off. For good, probably. Well, not for good, but for a little while. I'm going to rotate the engine to where I can put my cam lock tool on, and the crankshaft will all be locked. And I'll show you guys how to do that right now. Okay, so inside the wheel well, you're going to see these right here. You're going to take that one out, that one out. You're going to take all of them out. Let me see how many there is. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right now there's one at the top. But we take those out and then pull this fender liner out. But I'm going to need both hands because I can't hold my camera and do this. So I'll be right back. I'm going to show you one though real quick that I can get to one hand. But it's just, you just put a Phillips screwdriver in there and you turn it. But if it rotates, see how this one's rotating? You got to put a flathead or something in there to hold it. Let's see what I can do with my finger. Yeah, I can't do it with one hand, but you just turn those and they pop right out. But it takes both hands. This is what they look like. You just got to turn that. Comes loose enough to where this can open and you can slide it out. You just got to take those out. These out. All you do to take these out is you just grab and turn them. I have a lot of dirt. I live on a dirt road, so that's how you take those out. I decided I'm not going to pull the whole fender liner out because I can actually get to what I'm trying to get to. It's just this bolt right here And then I also got to take the, well, first I had to take the tensioner off, but I've done this all without pulling the liner off before. And I don't think I'm going to pull it off today because it's just more work than I want to do. But it's pretty easy to get it done without it. Okay, so it's an 18mm socket. Luckily I found mine. And I have it on a breaker bar. You only want to go clockwise. You do not want to go counterclockwise. You'll ruin your Vanos gear. So only rotate clockwise. And what you're going to do is you're going to rotate until there's some numbers and stuff on your camshaft that you're going to rotate until you can see them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place the camera to where you can see that. Before you do this, also make sure your negative battery cable is disconnected. I disconnected mine earlier. But yours is going to be different. I have aftermarket plugs in here. Not aftermarket, but I have one-step colder plugs in here, so it's a little bit different than yours. Seem like they're loose, so luckily I'm doing this. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out. Quick note too, yours are going to be 14mm if you have stock OEM spark plugs. Mine's a 16 because I have the one-step colder. Rotate your cam until you can see those numbers on the very top. Can't really see it on this one, but it won't show up on camera, but it's right there on the top. I don't know why it won't show up. Oh, wrong one. Yeah, there it is on that one. And there it is on that one. So you want those to be straight up and down. Okay, so now take my cam kit. You're going to take these pieces. See where they go. There's a little square part right here on the cam. And this fits right over it. Just like that. It's not what I want. There we go. Guess I'm gonna have to rotate it a little bit more just to get it to work. But you get the idea. Okay, so I just rotate it just slightly more, still clockwise. You don't want to go the other direction. So that is on there. Now you put the other one on the other side. And you're going to have 3 bolts. There's actually 4 bolts, but you only need 3 of them. One's going to go in the middle. It's going to line them together. Definitely don't want to be cross-threading these. Trying to make it go faster when I tighten them. It's a 10mm on my tool. If you get the same one, I'll put a link to this EWK one in the description. Just gonna get it just barely snug. Doesn't need to be real tight because the cam, it's onto the cam, so it can't turn. And you definitely don't want to strip out your head with these bolts. Right. So those are all tight. Now the next part of the tool is this. This little part right here is going to slide into the flywheel, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, from under the car, this is my transmission right here. You're going to take this piece, you go all the way up. There's a hole. Get it to focus. And it slides in right there. And if it doesn't slide in right away, like if it doesn't go in all the way, like mine's not, it means you need to rotate the crank a little bit. But first, I'm going to take this tool right here, this endoscope, which I'll link this in the description too, and I'm going to look in there and see if I have to go a full turn to get to where I need to be, or if I can just turn it a little bit to get where I need to be. Well, unfortunately, my endoscope is not charged, and I don't feel like charging it right now, but what you would normally do is just take this end, point it in to the hole, and you could see the piece. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the socket back on the crank pulley, and I'm just going to turn it and see if it slides in. Okay, so I just barely turned it clockwise just a hair, and that was able to slide that in all the way. Make sure that slides in all the way. Some kit people will say that they have to machine this down a little bit to get it to slide. I think they're just not lining up this properly, and I would recommend lining this up properly, because or just get a good kit like this one, which is only like $96 or $97. So just get a good kit and it should work. And you know, you don't need to rotate this that much to get to go, and plus the cams are locked, so you can't rotate it anyway unless you take the cam lock off. But so that's in right there. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and take this off, the guard. I believe it's an 8mm. It's just 2 bolts that are right here. I'll show you where they are right now. So these are the 2 8mm you got to take out. Just going to go ahead and break them loose. Take them out. Definitely don't want to drop that inside that cylinder head, because I don't have a spark plug in there to stop it. I'm going to go ahead and take that out of there before I shake it loose. The old one, yeah, this is probably the OEM one that came on the car, unless the car's been, you know, unless it's been changed before, but you can see a little chip on it right there. That's oil. The big thing looks like a big crack, that's just oil. But that's pretty much all that's wrong with it, but I'm replacing it with the good one from Detroit Tuned. Okay, next I'm going to be relieving the tension on the accessory belt. See if I can... You can see that bolt right there. Mine's a 30mm, some of them are 21. There's a special wrenches you can buy from Mini. I'll link them in the description. I don't use them. In fact, well, I will. I'm going to buy one eventually. But right now, I'm just using a 30mm wrench with this bend in it right here. That's how it comes. And I just put it on there, pull it back, and press show you. Set that down. Once I pull that back, you press this. See if I can get it on the same time. This screw right here is there it is. You can see the screw right there. You just press that in. It's not really a screw, You press it in. Once you pull it back, and it locks it in place. I'll show you what it looks like after I get it locked. I can't do it with one hand. The tensioner pushed in. The way I was able to do it this time was a little bit different than I did last time. I put the wrench this way, and I was able to get it on like that, and then just pull it towards me, towards the front of the car. And then I pushed it in with the hand that I'm holding the phone with now. Now, the only way that'll work, if you can do it without using the tool that you buy from Mini, is if you have this plastic, your intake off. If you have that on, you definitely need the tool for Mini, or you're gonna have a lot of trouble. So I would recommend buying it for sure. Now, I'm not gonna be able to show you guys this probably, but this piece right here, you got to pull that out. That's the lower tensioner. You pull that forward and then lift it up, and it has a little connector so it stays open. But I'll show you once I get it out. We'll see. So you take this and you pull it out like that. Then once you have it all the way out, it can, if I can get it to pull, this part will drop down. That's not going all the way. There we go. Once you pull it all the way out like that, you can lift up on it, and there's a little tab that connects like that, and now it stays open. And then this lower part, this lower part right here can hang down. See how loose it is now? So now I can take the belt off of the crank pulley. A lot of places will say to take the whole thing off, mark which direction it goes. What I do is I just take it off of the crank pulley, and I let it hang there, so there's no confusion which way it goes back on. But I'm gonna need both hands to do it. One thing you're gonna want to do is take this off, just so that you can. Let me see if I can do it with my bare hand. Now I'm gonna need a screwdriver, but right here. Yeah, I'm gonna grab a screwdriver. Let's see if I can film this. Just pop it loose like that. Then this line can come out. And then there's also a bolt that's behind it. Right there that you want to take out. Take this whole plastic thing out of the way. You're gonna have to do that in order to get the crank pulley off. So the bolt you want to take off, it's a 10mm. It's right there. I can't really show it, but hopefully that was all the way off. Nope. Well, that bolt is not coming off. I think mine is stripped. So I'm just gonna go ahead and leave it on there. But I got this, it's loose enough to where I pulled it down. There we go. Then this moves about as much as it's gonna move anyway, so I'm still gonna be able to get the crank pulley out. I don't need to do that yet anyway. Okay, so the next step is take these bolts out right here. They're an E12. So you just take those out. Now there is 4 of them, I believe. And I'm going to get to those right now. Other tool to loosen them. This one. Hold on a second. I had an extra extension I don't need. It was in the way. So to get to this one, set that down. This is in the way, so I'm going to try to lower the engine a little bit. See if that helps. I think I'm going to have to raise the engine, so that means I got to take out the there's a mount on the bottom that I got to remove so I can raise and lower the engine more so I can get to these bolts. Alright, so this is the mount. There's a bolt right here that is 17 millimeters that I gotta loosen. Alright, so I went ahead and broke it loose with the breaker bar, but now I just need to take it out. It's 16 millimeter. I just wrecked my hand, but oh well. Actually, this will make it a lot easier. Now I gotta get my tool out. Alright, so I decided I'm gonna loosen the bolt on the other side a little bit, just so I can get this to move, but it's not really working. Once I figure out how to get this bolt out, I'll let you know. Off of the big side right here, the bolt. It is right here. Came out right here. It's a little bit easier to get to. Doesn't matter, you get to one. Next time I'll take this pipe loose first. In fact, I'll probably have to in order to put that back on, but that thing doesn't want to move. But now I should be able to move the engine up and down. Alright, so I can get the tool on there now. Let's go ahead and loosen it. Alright. Now I just got to do that to the other two over here on this side. There's one right there. Alright, so let's break it loose first. Oh. See if I can get a good shot of it. There we go. That's the last one right there. Alright. I didn't really get this one that loose. I'm going to go ahead and loosen it more. I'm just going to take it out. That's what they look like. I'm just going to go ahead and pull all four of those out, and I'll be right back. All four of those, you're going to want to take out these 10 millimeter bolts. See if I can get a shot of it. That are right next. That's right next to the T12 or the E12. It's a black bolt. Let's see if I can get a light to shine on it. Well, let's see if I can get the tool on it, and I'll show you where it is. It's right next to the bottom T14 or T12. I don't know why I keep saying that wrong. So just, I already broke it loose, so it wasn't that loose. That's the bolt. And there's another one on the other side, I believe. Yeah, it's on the other side, but I'll show you where it is. It's right below. Well, it's right to the left of the very bottom E12. That's the top one that you can see, but there's a one underneath it. There, you can kind of see it. It's right next to it. Then it comes out. So once you've removed all four of those T12s, or E12s, this comes out. You can see these right there. That's where those 10 millimeters were bolted. And that is to hold this wire off of the pulleys. Oops, let me see it. This wire right here off of the pulleys. So don't forget to put that back on when you put it back together. So I jacked the engine up. I'm going to take off. There's 3 bolts on the timing belt tensioner. Show them to you. You can see all 3 of them right there. They're all 10 millimeters. And so I got the 2 top ones you can get to with the motor jacked up, and then you lower the motor to get to the bottom one. And you got to do that from the bottom. but I'm gonna try to get these off. See if I can do it with one hand. I've already loosened this one, broke it loose before. Let me turn this off for a second. They look like that. They have a built-in washer, 10mm. Make sure to keep those all together. I'll try to get to the next. This is probably the easiest one to get to. See, now that I said that, it probably won't be. Okay, I'm just gonna break it loose with this before I. It's not really that tight. All right. Nice if hold on a second. All right, you can't really see because that wire loom is in the way, but. You can see that that's almost out. Get to focus, and I'll just grab it with my hand. Hold the rest of the way out. Now I'll lower the motor and get the bottom one. Alright, that's what you can see on the very top right of the screen is the bolt. I'm not going to be able to get it with one hand, but I already broke it loose. I just got to back it out. The position I'm in, so you know, I'm coming from the wheel well. And that's it. Now I'm just going to reach up here and pull the tensioner out of there. This is what I was talking about earlier. When you pull this out, there's a, see that little thing right there? Let me try to do this with one hand. I can show you. Oh, hold on, let me put this on a stand. Okay, when this is in the car, this part is all the way in. So what you got to do, and it clips in. It actually presses in like that. So it looks like when it's in the car. You pull it out, and you can see that hole in the line. You like see my face through it, kind of. There's a tab. Let's see if I can get it on the camera. There's a tab. You just put it through that tab, and it holds it. And then you don't have to worry about this thing stays loose. And that's how you take it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and take out the timing belt timing chain tensioner. It's a 27mm. Normally I use a socket for this, but I didn't take this out of the way, so I'm not going to be able to. But see what I'm doing here. I already broke it loose, so it's gonna come out pretty easy. That's how you do that. I might have to end up taking this Way Motor Works thing out of the way anyway, just so I can get in there with the socket. Because I gotta put the new one in. I gotta make sure the new one's tight. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do that. That is the hose clamp I gotta get to. It's a 7mm, like all hose clamps on there. So I'm not gonna be able to hold the camera while I do it. I'm gonna loosen that. That's the piece. Once you take it out, I'll show you what the OEM one looks like real quick. That's the OEM noise maker. I deleted that when I first got the car. Well, as soon as I found out what it was and how pointless it was, and I got rid of it immediately. So I did that and the intake silencer at the same time from Way Motor Works. Pretty awesome. Didn't give me enough room, as you can see. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this whole hose out. Last time I did this, I had the intake manifold off, which actually might be easier than pulling this hose off. But I'm just going to pull the hose off because it's one clamp. So, yeah, I'm going to do that right now. Alright, so I sprayed some WD-40 on the throttle body, so I'm hoping I can get this hose to slide off. So far, it seems like getting this hose off is the hardest thing I've ever done working on this car. But I'm gonna spray some I already sprayed the W40 in there, you can see it. I'm gonna let it soak, and then it should slide right off. Alright, so W40 did the trick, sprayed that in there, took maybe 10 minutes of soaking, and then it popped right off. So now with that out of the way, I could easily get to my chain tensioner. I just use this little tiny snub nose ratchet. I'll make you guys watch me take this all the way out. That's a side-by-side comparison. That's the cheap Chinese one that I got. That's the one from Detroit tuned. Notice the length. That's the updated version. That's the old style. This one says Germany on it. This one doesn't say anything. So I'm going to be much more confident with this one in the car. So at this point I have the 2 cam gears to take off, and then there's 3 bolts that hold the bottom guide rails on. There's 2 on the front, 1 on the back rail, and then there's the actual crank pulley holding on the bottom of the chain. Once you take all that off, the chain just comes, well, you gotta take the dipstick out, and the whole thing slides out in one piece, what they call a cassette. So I'll get to that. What I gotta do is I'm gonna take off this 17 millimeter or 18 millimeter, it's 18 millimeter bolt right here, and then I'm gonna pull the whole hub off as one piece, and I'm gonna do that right now. Let me break it loose real quick. It's gonna take 2 hands. All right, once it's broke loose, it turns pretty easy. I'm actually just turning this with my hand. I used a breaker bar to loosen it. This is a torque to yield bolt, so anytime you take this out, you need to put a brand new one in. You can't replace it with the same bolt. So might as well throw this one away. That. So definitely don't reuse this bolt. Okay, so now I'm just gonna reach in there, see if I can do this one hand, but just pull this whole thing out. I can get it to come out. It's you see it moving, but I need both hands so I don't drop it. Take these. I can break all these 3 bolts loose. They're E10s, and the reason I did that is so after I take this bolt back out, I can use the big pulley to take everything out, to pull it, you know, break it loose, and then I can by hand loosen those 3 E10s and take the pulley out. It won't come out all in one piece because this air conditioner is in the way and I can't get it to move. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. It's out. I should be able to just pull it out now. Let's see. Oh, it's still stuck together somehow. Oh, here it goes. All right, it's just gonna take 2 hands again. So what I did when I was pulling it out is you can see where the hub is still in there, that crank hub. I just put my thumbs in here and pushed in so that I could pull the pulley away, and it broke away pretty easily. Once it's out, and you could probably pull it all out in one piece, but this part was actually kind of it's pretty hard to get out of the actual sprocket that's down there. So, you know, it took a little work. So this way was just easier. That's the bottom of your timing chain. You can see the sprocket in there. You can see the bottom of the guide. But yeah, as you can see, my guide yours is going to be brown. Mine is pretty new, so it looks like that. But I just don't trust it, so I'm putting in the good one. Okay, so now I'm going to see if I can get it to focus. If you look down inside there, you can see where the bolt is, but my ratchet is attached to it. It's a T45, so I'm going to jack the motor up a little bit just so I have better access to it. And then that's the only top one, and there's two more at the bottom. I believe they're also T45s. I'll find out in a second. Loose with the breaker bar. I'm just going to take it loose with this by hand. It's really loose. Once you break it loose, it comes out real easy. And it looks like that. I'm not sure if these are torque to yield, but the Detroit tune kit that I got comes with new ones, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace them, and I'll look to see what the actual torque spec is on them. I'm sure I looked last time I did it because I followed the Bentley manual, and I'll follow it again this time. So the bottom two that you want to get to, there's one right there, and there's one right there. I already broke them loose. Let me see if I can get them while I'm holding this camera. I didn't loosen it enough. Maybe I can get this one. No, I gotta loosen them a little bit more. Let's see if I can pull them up by hand now. There's one. Again, I lowered I'm gonna need to use a wrench for this one, but let me see if I can find what I just did with the wrench. I lowered the motor slightly to get to these. It makes it pretty easy. They're just barely out of reach. That should be good enough. No. For some reason it turns really easy with the wrench, with the ratchet, but not by hand. I feel like it should be almost all the way out by now. Alright, there we go. There's that one. Alright, so the last thing I gotta take off is these two bolts right here. I believe they might be E14s, yep. Yeah, they're E14s. So let me go ahead and break those loose. I might need a breaker bar for this, but yeah, I'm gonna try a breaker bar. All right, this is my 3/8 breaker bar. If I can't do it with this one, I'll go to my 1/2 inch, but I think I should be able to get it with this. Alright, there's that one. Now I'm gonna do the exhaust cam. It looks like you could probably get away with not doing this one, but I'm gonna do it because I have a new bolt. And when I tightened this one last time, I tightened my exhaust bolt 180 degrees past the Torx spec instead of 90, so I want to replace it anyway. these two bolts are also torque to yield. So you torque them down to what the book says, which I'll tell you what it is when I do it. And then you go 180 degrees on the intake and 90 degrees on the exhaust. So I'm going to set my torque wrench through here so it doesn't fall. Not so my torque wrench doesn't fall, so that the chain doesn't fall. I'm just taking the bolt out for the exhaust can. That's the bolt, that's garbage, don't reuse it. That's the exhaust sprocket. That I am going to reuse. I'm going to take the bolt out for the Vanos gear on the intake cam. And you can see the difference in the two bolts too, I'll show you. That's the intake. So when you get your kit, the short one's the exhaust, the long one's the intake. That's the Vanos. That's the one that came with my last kit. It seems to be holding up fine. I will definitely buy an OEM one eventually. I'm gonna reuse this one and not my old OEM one because I don't know how old the other one is, and this one I know is brand new. Okay, at this point, remove your dipstick, like I've said multiple times. Alright, so remove the dipstick. I'm just gonna set it right here for now. And this all comes out in one piece. And that's your sprocket at the bottom for the crankshaft. So I'll put the new one back together and then drop it back in. Alright, to put this together, you're just going to spread these two apart. I'm just going to slide it on. Those holes go over this hole right here. I can get it better. It just slides over it and it just pops right on. So you can't really do that wrong. Unless you're me, of course, because I put it on backwards. It goes on this way. You want to be facing each other. See if I can get it to snap in there. It does not want to slide in there. You can see there's two grooves right here that need to go underneath those things. So I'm trying to figure out how to get that on there. Maybe I had to go like that. Okay, so what you need to do is you need this to be leaned that way until you get it to snap in, and then you just rotate it this way. And then you make sure it's locked in, so now it's not going anywhere. Alright, so now put this gear on the chain like that. And you gotta slide. You gotta drop this so it's through there. Actually, I'm gonna put the chain through first, and then I'm gonna put the gear on afterwards. You want to spread these apart so you can get it through, but you don't want to, definitely don't want to break it. Be able to set it down to do that. So I got one through. Let's see how you want it. Now you just take the gear. It's gonna go like that. And it's gonna sit just like that inside there. So at this point, you just lower it, put your thing that you're going to hold it in place with in here somewhere, and then you just drop it, turn it around the right way. You want the one with yeah, I have it the right way. You want the one with 2 holes facing the front of the car. Alright. Okay, so with the new bolts, the 3 new ones, there's one that just has a washer. And then there's 2 that also have an O-ring. The 2 with the O-ring are the ones that go on the bottom. The one with just the washer is the one that goes at the top. And that's why the one at the top is the one you can hand loosen real easy. And these are a little bit harder to get out. So I'm just going to hand tighten all these, and then I'll find out what the torque spec is on them before I go ahead and torque them down. I compared the part numbers on these to my old ones that are OEM that I have sitting over there. Same part number for these plastics. So the ones from Detroit Tuned, the guides are actually OEM, and then the other stuff is, the chain itself is cryo treated, and I'm not sure if the tensioner itself is. I think it is, but it should last the rest of the time I have this car. All right, so you can actually see where the holes kind of line up for the new bolts, and you can see the new timing chain down there. I'm gonna go ahead and try to get these in. I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but I'm gonna try. Yeah, I got it going. So what I did is when I put it in there, I actually used the actual bolt to lift up on the actual guide, so I could line the back of the bolt up where it screws into the block. And then the one on the front of the front one looks like it already lines up perfectly, and as it should, because it's already has the screw in on the top. So the one on this side looks like it's just going to slide right in. And it does. Okay, I'm gonna grab my book and I'm gonna look and see if there's any torque specs on these. I'll be right back. There's 22.1 foot-pounds for those bolts on the. They're called timing chain guide bearing bolts. But as I said earlier, I don't trust my torque wrench, so I'm just gonna tighten them real tight with a regular ratchet. So I got the first one tightened. I'll do the second one. And forgot to mention, so since it doesn't say to rotate it, you know, any amount of distance after you've you've torqued it down, that means they are not torqued to yield. So you can reuse your OEM bolts. This kit just came with new ones, like I said, so I figured I'd use them. One from the top, jack this motor up a little bit. It's going to take two hands to get this in there. It's not tight enough yet to use the ratchet. It gets almost all the way, like it's hand loosened until it gets to the last second, and then you can tighten it. Grab it going the right way. There we go. Slide this in my way. That's pretty good. Alright, so I got the new exhaust bolt, or intake bolt. Got the Vanos gear. Set that right there. I'm going to wrap the chain around it. Put that out of the way. I'm just going to set it on top of our inside. Let me show you. Quick, actually. This piece right here, this brown part, slides inside the cam. It doesn't have to go in any particular way. Your cam's are already timed, that's why you have these cam gears on, or these locks on. I'm going to take this new bolt, make sure you don't use the old one. I'm just going to hand tighten it. Okay. Now I'm going to take the exhaust sprocket. I'm going to do the same thing. The exhaust sprocket has these three things right here. Those go on the outside of the cam. And you could see marks on your cam where they were before. I try to line them up. I don't know if that actually matters, but I do it. Grab the new bolt again, make sure you don't use the old one. You got to hold the exhaust sprocket on, right? It'll fall right off. And the only thing holding this stuff from spinning on you when you go to start your car is the fact that you torque it down right. So make sure you follow the instructions. if you under torque these, your exhaust cam can spin, or both, either one of your cams can spin, which will cause your valves to hit your pistons. Alright, so I got another torque wrench that actually works. This is an inch-pound one. Alright, so I'm going to do the exhaust one. I have another intake bolt. I just have to find it. So I'll change that out before I start the car. But this one is 15 pounds plus 90 degrees. Yeah, that actually worked. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and put my dipstick back in. I wiped it off before I did that. Now to get the additional 90 degrees, use this breaker bar. And I'm just gonna kind of eyeball 90 degrees because I know I'm a machinist. I've been a machinist for 16 years. I kind of know where 90 degrees is. That feels like 90 degrees to me. The timing chain and everything looks like it lines up now. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the hub in. I'm gonna clean it up real quick before I do that. All you do is slide the hub in. Point, you would replace your this gasket right here. But mine's brand new. I just did this a month ago, and the one I have in there is a Felpro. I think it's better than the one that came with the kit. I've never heard of the other brand, so. It's Victor Reigns is the brand. So might be good, might not, but I know the Felpro is, and it's only a month old, so I'm gonna leave it in there. And then if it leaks, I have another one. I'll tell you how to do. All you do to pull this, to get it out, is you can literally just grab it. And either if you can't just pull it out with your bare hand, you could pry it out with a screwdriver. Just try not to, well, definitely don't scratch the block with the screwdriver. And then the new one, you just press it into place with the flat side of pretty much anything. I use it's a ring press. It's just a handle that presses in. Most people use a piece of a 2x4 to press it in. So literally anything that's flat, that's hard enough to push it in, that's what you press it in with. And put the pulley in there. At least I think I am. Alright, it's going to take two hands. Then and it'll kind of click into place, and you can see the ring seals it. Now I'm going to get the new crank bolt. I'm going to tighten that down before I put the harmonic balancer on. Okay, so this is the new crank bolt that came with the kit. Go ahead and put that in there. Just going to hand tighten it. This is a torque to yield bolt too, and this one, when you're tightening it, when you go the 180 degrees at the end, it feels like you're gonna break it, but you just have to trust it. All right, let me go grab the torque wrench. Okay, so the tightening torque is 36.8 pounds, and then an additional 180 pounds. I have a torque wrench that'll do the 36, I believe. Okay, so I went ahead and torqued it down to the 36.8 off camera because it takes two hands. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to see if I can set the camera up so you can see, but I'm going to turn it to 180 degrees. Okay, so when I start pulling, this is pretty vertical, so 180 degrees is going to be pretty horizontal. So 180 degrees is going to be horizontal the other way. That's what I'm going to go for. Strong enough to do it. That's a little bit more. All right, that's about horizontal the other way, a little bit more, a little bit extra, but it'll do. If I ever do this again, I'm gonna get a 36-inch breaker bar, but 24 worked. All right, so next I'm gonna install the harmonic balancer. I already cleaned it up, so it should balance a little bit better. But it's the same three bolts that came out. They're T10s. They're E10s. Yeah, they're E10. You can't see that, but it says E10. So I'm going to install them just hand tight, and then I'll tighten them down with that. Just so I can get a better reach on it. Okay, and let's now I'll go ahead and tighten it down with the wrench or with the ratchet. So the torque specs for the vibration damp. So this is for the vibration dampener. This is vibration dampener to hub. It's going to be 28 Newton meters or 20.6 foot-pounds. So I gotta do some math. I got times that by 12, and then use my inch-pound torque wrench, and I'm gonna tighten it to spec. Okay, so I got my torque wrench ready. So torque these. Hopefully it works this time. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and put my accessory belt back on. And I'm not going to be able to videotape that because there's no room, but I guess I can just leave the camera rolling while I do it. Move this out of my way. I'm just going to lay down on this carpet that I have right here. Got to get it over top of the alternator. Alright, I think the easiest way to do it is I'm going to reach through this hole right here. That's how I did it last time. You can get both hands in there. So that's what I'm going to do. And you want to make sure that you're underneath the idler pulley, and then there's an idler pulley, so the belt kind of goes like this and then over the alternator. And you can't see what you're doing while you do it. look at it from the top just to see what it looks like. Okay, I wasn't all the way on the alternator, that's why I was having trouble. Alright, there we go. Alright, now if that's all the way on, I could take my 30mm wrench and I could loosen the top the tensioner. Try to do this with one hand. So all I gotta do is take tension off that and you'll see that pin right there pop out. That's the same pin that you gotta push in. See it pop out, and then you just relieve the tension slowly and it'll put the tension on the belt. Simple as that. Install this new updated timing belt or timing chain tensioner, so I'm pretty happy about. Looks like it's going to take two hands to get that in there, but I'll show you when I get it in there. So I got it started. And you want to make sure this bolt is still loose so you can get this tension out of here. See, it's tight right now. If you tighten those first, then you won't be able to get the tension out of the chain. So now that I have it started, let's go ahead and tighten it. I won't make you guys watch that. The torque on the tensioner is 48 foot-pounds, so I'm going to need both hands to tighten that, to torque that down. Alright, so now you're going to torque this down to 15 pounds. And then an additional 180 pounds, or 180 degrees. So I'm just going to do 290s because I don't have room to go 180. So from here, it's going to be about right there. That's 90. I might have to do a 45 and a 45, we'll see. Yeah, I'm just gonna go a little bit more than that. Get the thing in there. All right. Now I can go ahead and take off my cam tool. You don't need this many extensions. I just had it on there. Come right off. Alright, so I'm going to install the new timing chain guide. just an OEM replacement. These are 8mm bolts. Let me find the 8mm. Alright, just going to tighten them by hand first. Try to get it as straight as possible. Okay, so the torque specs on these two 8mm that hold the timing thing on is 14.7 pounds. This feels like it's kind of stripped though, so I'm not going to go what this thing says. That's as tight as I'm willing to go. So, but 14.7 is what the book says. I'm going to go ahead and wipe down this whole area. I'm going to put the valve cover head back, or the valve cover back on. Good. Place my valve cover back on. You're going to want to replace your valve cover gaskets when you do this. I've already replaced mine. Mine are brand new. I'm going to go ahead and just hand tighten all 14 of these bolts. Well, 13 bolts. I'll go ahead and do 14 and put this back in. Find my bolt. Yeah, so I'm going to hand tighten all these. I'm going to go from the inside and I'm going to work my way out. I've already done these two. Remember, I have helo coils in 2 of these, so mine's going to be a little bit different than yours when it comes to tightening. In fact, I'm going to have to use a ratchet to snug this one. Alright, that's pretty good. Don't forget to put the 2 long ones in right here. Okay, so the book says the torque spec for all these bolts is 7.3 pounds. I don't trust my torque wrench to go that low, so I'm just going to use a ratchet like I always do. I've never had a problem. Make sure your cam, whatever it is, cam gear thing, cam sensor is tight. Check everything. And that's that. I'll then plug these back in. That just slides back in. Your PCV valve just clips in. And take this one. Slide that in. Slide that on. Take this little piece, put it back. Don't forget to take your tool out of your flywheel. Okay, so now I'm going to install this tensioner. Okay, so I'm going to put it in from the bottom, and I'm going to put this bolt in first. It's because it's like this. This is actually going to be the bottom bolt, and the other two I'll get from the top. I'm going to lower the motor just a little bit. Okay, now I'm just going to use a whole bunch of extensions that swivel, and this one comes off, apparently. I'm not going to tighten it all the way because I need to get the other 2 bolts in still. Once I get it snug, I'm actually going to back it off a little bit. So I'm just going to leave it right there because it's in and it's not tight. Alright, so now you can see it'll line up right there. The tensioner is almost lined up with the bolts, or the bolt holes. So I'm going to try to get my hand in there. You're not going to be able to see, but I'm going to put my hand in there. Get the bolt started. There's one. Oops. I don't know why, for some reason my camera went upside down, but you can't see in there anyway. I'm going to get those hand tight and then I'll be right back. Snug these up with the ratchet, top 2. It's not as tight as I'm going to get them, but I'm going to get the bottom bolt in now. But I'm going to tighten the bottom bolt all the way. I went ahead and lowered the motor already. I'm just going to tighten this by hand. Okay, that's pretty good. And I'm going to go up, I'm going to raise the motor back up and I'm going to tighten the top 2 all the way. Go ahead and tighten these 2. I'm probably going to need both hands, but let's see. Yeah, I'm going to need both hands. I'm just going to get the ratchet in there and I'm going to tighten those 2 up. Those are tight. So now, I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm going to do it from the bottom, but I'm going to loosen, or I'm going to put the tension back on the tensioner. Alright, so that's the tensioner. I'm going to see if I can hold the camera and do it at the same time. Just going to pull it out and then away from the little clip that it's on. And it goes back on its own. And then once you get it all the way in there, you can plug it all the way in. Now it's plugged all the way in. So it should be nice and tight now. This back on this AC line keeps everything where it's supposed to be when you're driving. It's gonna take 2 hands though. All you gotta do is put that back over the top of it and then you just squeeze it down and it locks on there. And then don't forget to tighten the 10mm bolt that's back there. In fact, I'm gonna do that right now. I'm trying to get a good view of the bolt for you. I believe that is it on your top left hand side of the screen. And I'm gonna try to get a ratchet on that and tighten it. I'm not gonna try, I'm going to. Alright, so that's where the bolt is. Got a ratchet on there. It's already pretty tight. Alright, there we go. Alright, so I'm gonna install this. And it's these I believe they are E12s. So it's these 4, and then that's where the 2 10mm go to hold the wire loom. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll go ahead and get it started right now. So now I'm going to get a wrench on and tighten them all down. Alright, let's wrench on there. I couldn't find a Torx spec in the book for these, so I just tightened them down pretty good. Does not want to go on there. Remember, you're tightening into aluminum, so you don't want to wrench it too hard. But it's also a motor mount, so at the same time, you want to get it tight enough. I think it's pretty odd that I couldn't find a Torx spec, but I'll check again. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and put on the other motor mount, or the top part of the motor mount. Alright, so these two 10mm screws got to go in to hold the wire loom up so it doesn't drag on the pulleys. It's pretty easy, but I'm not going to be able to show you. I definitely wouldn't risk not putting these in, because that'd be bad. Of course I can't see. Right there. So it's just to the back of the bottom bolt on the front side. You just got to feel around because you can't really see in there. Guess I could raise the motor, make it a little easier. Oh, it's right there. Okay. I'm just in the completely wrong spot. I'm going to go ahead and get those tightened down, then we'll go on to the next step. All right. Remember, I had this bolt I had secured onto here so I wouldn't lose it. So I took that off, and I'm going to put this on. And I'm going to have to lower my motor a little bit here. now, in order to get these on, I'm going to have to rock the motor forward by hand and get one started. That was pretty easy. I'm going to lower the motor a little bit more. Check. Those are all the same length. Alright, so I'm just going to keep playing with the height of the motor until I can get these bolts to line up. Okay, so I went ahead and I took the front bolt back out and I raised and lowered the motor until I got the one in the very front of the motor, not the back ones when I took out, but the one in the front to line up first. And then I just raised the motor up until all the bolt holes look like they lined up. So now it looks like they line up good. And with this being lined up, it's going to make it much easier for me to install the lower mount. Alright, I'm going to get these all hand tight and then I'll get them tightened up with the ratchet. Alright, so now I'm going to go ahead and put my spark plugs and my coil packs in. Actually, I'm just going to do the spark plugs for now. I'm not going to do the coil packs. But I do have to find my spark plug wrench. Mine's a 16 millimeter. Yours will probably be a 14. Mine's 16 because my plugs are one step colder. Sure, I mentioned that. I'm going to try to put these, well, I'm not going to try, I'm going to put these back in the same order, same holes that they came out of. Since I'm not changing my plugs right now. I don't know if that really matters, but everybody does it, so I'm doing it. Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten those down with the wrench. I don't use a torque wrench for this because, again, I just don't trust any of my torque wrenches for this light of a load. Alright, so I'm going to start putting my intake back on. Let's start with the piece that goes on the throttle bodies. So that was the hardest one. In fact, I don't even know how that went on there. Alright, I'm going to get the throttle body one on first, if this is the right one. Alright, this is one for the throttle body. That's why it didn't look right. So let's slide that one on first. which I'm going to go ahead and clean this one out first. Alright, get that cleaned out, and I'm just going to slide it onto the throttle body. Hopefully it goes on easier than it came off. It actually came off pretty easy once I put the W40 in there. Yeah, it went right on. Not going to tighten it yet though, because I'm not sure exactly where I want it. Actually, yeah, I am. It goes right there. I'm going to get it as tight as I can with the flathead screwdriver, and then once I get it as tight as I can with this, I'm going to tighten it up even more with a 7mm, because if you don't do that and you're running boost, you'll blow your hose off. Can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just going to reach down here. Actually, I'm going to make sure I don't have any, not holding my motor up with this jack anymore. There we go. I'm going to use a longer screwdriver. Let me find a longer screwdriver. I actually changed my mind. I found a way to get a ratchet down there, so I'm going to tighten it that way. Seems pretty. Okay, so I figured out why I can't get my arm in there. It's because I don't have that bottom mount on, the one that keeps the engine forward. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that in there right now. Okay, so I wasn't able to get it on camera because it took two hands, but I had this bolt all the way out, and then the bolt right here I had to take all the way out. And what I did is, it was easy to get this one in when this bolt was out. So because I could slide this around, just slide that in. And then this one right here, what I did is I put my hand on the alternator, and the engine rocked really easy. So I pushed up with my hand to align this bolt. It's not all the way, none of them they're not tight yet, but they're in. And once I got those bolts to align, then it just slid right in, and I was able to tighten it. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten them down with the wrench, but I'm not gonna be able to do it on cam. All right, got that on. So the next step, put this on. I'm gonna install my noisemaker delete. First, before I do that, make sure I'm putting it on the right way. It's on like this. It just slides right in. It rotates anyway. So, alright, I'm going to tighten that hose clamp, and I'll go on to the next step. Alright, so next I'm going to install this part. Before, when I took it off, I had the valve cover off. It made it a lot easier, but I'm gonna do it with the valve cover on. I've done it with the valve cover on before, so I'm not worried. to struggle with this for a while, and then I will tell you guys exactly how I did it. Okay, so what it is, I'm hanging up on the bottom, so I just got to get underneath there and I got to pull the bottom out and then try to slide this in. Okay, so it's definitely easier with the valve cover off, but what I did was, you know, this part that bolts in right here, you just got to pick up on the metal part and concentrate on getting the part, can't see it, but the part that bolts in underneath there first. And once that goes in, the rest of it follows. But it, definitely easier with the valve cover off. Alright, so now I'm going to put this piece on. It's pretty easy to go on. It just slides in there and slides over the piece I just put on. Get it tight. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put this in. These point down. I'm actually gonna remove my PCV valve, just to, not valve, but the hose, just to get it out of my way. Of course, again, it's gonna be hard to take off. I gotta figure out a way to hold that PCV valve out of my way. Alright, so I put a long screwdriver in the PCV hose and then I set a ratchet over it so it isn't moving. Alright, so now I just gotta tighten that, and we're good to go on that. Oh, and I gotta tighten the bottom of this hose, and then I also have to put in the Torx screw that goes into the radiator. Make sure you don't get this too tight or you break the plastic. I'm actually going to snug it up with the 7mm box wrench just so I know how tight I'm getting it. Alright, so now we can go ahead and put this connector back in right here. But first I'm going to pop the clips in. They just slide in pretty easy, see? And then this bolt holds this in place. Go ahead and tighten that. I'm going to find a 10mm. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that down. Alright, just 10mm. Enough. Go ahead and reinstall the PCV valve. Just pops back in. Alright. And there's these two bolts that hold this in place. I believe they're 13s. So Yes, they are 13s. So at this point, before I go ahead and do all that, I'm going to get my coil packs back in. So coil pack number 1. Number 2. I'm putting them back in the same spot that they came out of. Alright, so these, first I'm going to put this ground, it's that 8mm bolt that is right here. Put that in right there. Just going to hand tighten it. Well, actually, I'll go ahead and tighten it all the way. It's a 7. Let's see. Alright, so these rubber things, remember I showed you when I took them out, they just slide right back into place. And then put your coils back in the same way you took them out. Or plug your coils in. That goes there. And then this piece just clips in. Doesn't want to go in right now for some reason. Okay. I know it is. I have the ground wire too far this way. I have to rotate it that way. Okay, so hopefully that'll fit in there. Yeah, now it snaps right back in. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and put this. No, I'm not going to do that yet. Keep that away. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put the screw in for the Torx bit that screws your intake to the radiator. Not going to be able to do it from the top. I'm going to do it from the bottom, but I think I can get it started from the top. Nope, I'm going to do it from the bottom. And I can't film it. I remember when I took it out, I wasn't able to get it on film. So I'm just going to put that in and then tighten the bottom radiator, or not radiator, but the hose that's coming off of the intercooler charge pipe. And then put oil in it, and I am done. So I don't think you need to watch me do all that, since I can't get this on film anyway. So I will go ahead and end the video here. Go ahead and put this up. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. If you like the video, like, subscribe. I'm new to YouTube. This is only my 5th video. I'm trying to get better at them, trying to show more of what I'm actually doing. I know in the first couple ones I turned it off while I was actually taking the bolts out, so I'm trying to fix that. I'll get a better camera. Right now I'm just using an iPhone, so that's why sometimes the screen goes straight and down, because sometimes I'm holding the camera, it'll switch upside down for some reason. I don't know. I don't notice it right away, but that's why. But anyway, I hope you liked the video. I'm gonna try to get it uploaded tonight, And well, I'll have it up Sunday night. Well, you guys can't hear this part anyway, but Sunday night is when I said I would have it up, so I'll try to have it up by then. All right, till the next one.